Welcome everyone to episode 22 of The Worlds Don't Keep. We are back to our usual business this week with our standard show. We've got a nice lineup for you this week, starting with lore, jumping back into some Diablo 2. This week we're going to take a look at Act 3, which is where we left off. We finished up Act 2, so we're going to move on to Act 3, which we've been neglecting for a number of shows. After that, we have some pretty exciting news. Most of you probably know what it is, especially if you're regulars on the forums. If not, we'll fill you in on that in the news section. Once we finish that, we'll move on to some community feedback and then close out the show. With me on this here Diablo-themed podcast are my trusty cohorts, Jordan, Ken, and Dan. Jordan covers lore, Ken covers news, and Dan covers video. I am Joe, your host. And to make our introductions more interesting than the typical hellos, we like to answer a random question from the community. This week's question comes from Alex, and he wants to know, if you could travel to any place in the world, where would you go and why? So, who wants to jump in and take this one first?
I'll jump in. I think if I could go anywhere, just on the drop of a hat, I'd like to go see pyramids in Egypt. I think that'd be pretty awesome.
That would be cool. I didn't think about that.
Now why?
Well, mainly because they're, some of the most amazing structures ever constructed by people. And it's kind of amazing that anyone could do it at all, much less a few thousand years ago.
Why not the Great Wall of China?
Great Wall of China is nice, but at the same time, it's kind of boring, too. Because it's just,
Just a big wall.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing too outlandish about it. It's just a giant wall.
Well, the pyramids are just giant blocks of pyramids.
Well, that's not entirely true. There are actually a lot of really phenomenal mathematical principles put into it.
Oh, see, I'm not a math dude.
One of the things that makes the wall impressive isn't sort of the wall itself. It's the length of the wall.
Yeah.
And you don't really get an appreciation of that unless you spend time traveling across it. Whereas the pyramids, you can kind of stand back and look at and go, wow, that's a giant, crazy thing.
That's true. Do they let you inside any of the pyramids?
Yep.
They do?
Some of them.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're actually there's not much room inside of them. There's like a narrow hallway and then into a little room and then like a couple of little offshoot rooms. They're very, very hot inside.
Oh, creepy.
Yeah, and there's not enough air to actually light, even a lighter. So if you didn't have a flashlight on you, you'd pretty much be in pitch black darkness.
Damn. No thanks. You guys have fun in there. Get claustrophobic way too fast.
Nice.
I actually live close to a place called Julian where they have an old gold mine, and I took a tour of that, and even just walking through that was pretty creepy.
Did you take a pic with you? Decide to check around?
Oh, no. They had like this one like shaft that just bottomless pit blocked off that you could kind of look over, but they had it all boarded up so you can get like into it. It was nuts.
I'm gonna throw this out there. I doubt it looks like those concept art pictures on the Diablo 3 page.
They had a nice clawed structure holding it up.
Good times.
Ken, Dan, what about you guys? Where would you go?
There's a bunch of places, but I don't know. I've always wanted to go to a place like Tonga, just because it's a Pacific island and it's much warmer there than here.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Canadians.
It's got white sand and that nice crystal.
Crystal clear waters.
Yeah, just ridiculous.
And no snow.
And lots of palm trees. And I would learn how to climb them just like the natives. It would be awesome.
Good times.
I've actually seen all those things you've described, and they are pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Not a specific place, but I've been to quite a few places down there. And it is pretty awesome having somebody shimmy up a coconut tree and bring you down a coconut.
Yeah.
You just pay a local. You're like, hey, you get me a coconut. He's like, all right. Shimmy up it.
He's like, this is part of the tour. Who wants a coconut?
Nice. Yeah, I want that. That'd be sweet.
Cool. What about you, Dan?
There's so many places I want to go. I like travel. I've traveled a whole bunch, and so I've been a lot of places. And I don't know, Japan maybe because it's crazy. Hawaii because it's probably one of the best places. If you're looking, and I'm going to say Hawaii, just because of the question. It's where would you go if it was just at the drop of a hat? And if I'm going to go somewhere just to kind of take a quick break, it would have to be Hawaii, because it's just so easy to have a nice, relaxing, mellow time there.
Right.
And everywhere else that I want to go there would be things I'd want to see and, stuff I'd want to get done. And so there'd be planning involved. And so if it was just drop things and go, Hawaii, or maybe another Pacific island. But yeah.
Yeah,
Totally.
see? Canadians love the Pacific Islands.
It is the
Nice.
polar opposite of our existence. Nice mellow weather all year round.
Yep.
Mm,
Do you guys still have snow up there around this time?
Yes.
yep.
Oh, that's
Hey,
terrible.
it was like a blizzard just like a week ago. It was ridiculous.
Oh, that sucks.
I was so mad because like the snow melted and then this blizzard hits and I'm like, what the heck? Come on, come on. Whatever.
Well, me, as everyone else, I have a long list of places I want to visit, but I think if I were to pick up and go somewhere for, I don't know, like a week or something, I'd want to go to New Zealand. I think that place has a lot of really cool stuff to see. Plus, my sister, that's where her and her husband went on a honeymoon, and they just had like an incredible time rock climbing, and they rented a car and drove all over the place and did some cool stuff, like explored caves and saw what it was to see. And the people there were just cool too,
That's actually where they go to film all the really big epic movies,
Yep.
because it's just such incredible landscape.
It's where Lord of the Rings was filmed. That would be
Mm-hmm.
very cool
It
to
is filmed.
go around and see that. Yep. Have you guys seen that video, the behind the scenes that they just put out? Peter
Yeah.
Jackson?
That's pretty
Freaking
cool.
awesome. Yeah, it gets
No,
me
I haven't
excited.
seen that.
No? Oh, well,
No.
it's on our Facebook, so you can check it out there. It's like a
Nice.
10-minute video, and they rebuilt the sets and everything, and he kind of walks you around behind the scenes, and they start production. It's really cool. I think that's what springed it to the top of my list. I was like, oh, I want to go to New Zealand. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, that takes care of the interview question for this week. If you have one for us that you want us to answer next week, shoot it at us any way you see fit. Facebook, Twitter, the blog, email, YouTube. We can get them either way. So let's move on to lore. What do we have this week, Jordan?
Okay, from what I recall, where we left off, it was basically Derek had finally made it back to the ship, but his best friend was already dead. And picking up from that point,
Remind me who Derek is again? It's been a while.
Derek is essentially the main character, and they were, fleeing the ruins of that old destroyed city because they had just set Cabraxis free from the Black Road.
Right. Okay.
There were all those, crazy insects that were chasing them and dematerialized because they weren't supposed to be in the world, and all the masses of haphazardly skeletons chasing them even over the cliff. And when Matt, his best friend, was falling across, they'd actually grabbed him, and he kind of clunked down the side of the mountain a little bit first before he hit the water and busted his head open.
Ouch. Not cool.
Yeah, so that was pretty much it for him. They just didn't know it until a little bit after.
I split my head open. It wasn't fun. It wasn't too bad, though. I didn't need stitches or anything, but I was bleeding.
Yeah, definitely not a good place to get hit.
There's actually a pretty funny story behind it of kids being dumb kids. We took all the cushions off my best friend's couch, and we piled them up in front of the couch on the floor. And so the couch is still springy, so we were jumping off the couch and doing like flips and stuff. And I did backflip and landed on the cushions, and then my head went back and smacked the fireplace.
Ooh.
Yeah, split it open. It was not awesome, but yeah.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
Young sir, bravo.
that.
Hindsight is 20/20.
Which is why I am the way I am now.
Good times.
But sorry, continue.
All right, so needless to say, Derek is actually pretty wrought with guilt because when they were in the tomb, Matt kept going, "Hey, dude, we need to get going, I mean, we're about to get killed or something. People don't ever stick around to talk about demons, and this is why." It's like,
yeah.
just one sec, And so when they finally do take off, it's because they've been discovered, and, I'll see how that turned out. So Derek feels directly responsible for it, and he starts slipping into this deep brooding depression. He's he's in his cabin and he hears the bells ring for the funeral, and he doesn't want to go. And the captain comes down and very politely motivates him to go to it. He's like, well, this is how we honor the dead and blah blah blah, and kind of more or less understands that there's this real tragedy that happened to one of his officers.
Right.
Derek was actually an interesting case because he'd really fought tooth and nail climbing up the ranks of the West March Navy. He didn't sit idly by, and had a lot of incidences of capital punishment and things. And he was, in the back of his mind, there were pretty much two things going on. On the one hand, it was like, nah, my dad put me through worse. And number two, it was like, when I become a captain, I'm going to make them regret what they ever put me through. So now he's pretty much lost his will. It's just, all broken and shattered on the rocks, so to speak. And after the funeral and all that, Lex, the king's nephew, actually finds Derek on the deck at night and probes him for questions about the demon. And, of course, Derek doesn't want to have anything to do with it. And Lex tells him that he wants to become a priest in the years to come, and he wants to actually fight demons for that reason. But he's still, I don't really care. You can just do whatever. And Lex keeps probing him until he turns around to snap at the boy, and the boy's gone. It's like, oh, well, fine then.
Go then.
It's like,
Don't need you.
Good timing right there.
Yeah.
So, from this point in the story, you actually have a lot of really sordid things happening, because every time the ship makes berth, Derek actually goes to these really run-down places to drink, and it doesn't really matter what's going on. He'll essentially look for fights, just to kind of assuage this feeling that he's having. So he ends up in a place called Cross-Eyed Sal's, and he gets this confrontation between three mercenaries. Now, keep in mind, on a political scale, what's going on now is that ship's already come back. Lex and the others have told him that there's a demon, and knowing what happened with Tristram, the king is, kind of in panic mode and sends out for the Navy to come in to closer quarters instead of protecting the outlands. You've got mercenaries being hired left and right to come into the city. You have all these different factors, even though nothing's happened yet.
Right.
And a lot of them are growing pretty impatient because, like I say, nothing's going on.
Mm-hmm.
This is Cabraxis, not Diablo. Diablo would have already kicked stuff off really quickly, Cabraxis doesn't work like that. He just kind of does things very subtly, very slowly over time. So, three mercenaries confront him, and like I say, he's pretty much just itching to fight something. And when the whole thing really gets going, Derek taunts them, breaks the first dude's nose.
Ow.
Just blunt slaps him with the cold, hard steel side of his saber, right in the face. So, next guy, he drop kicks on a table. Actually, I think this is all the same guy, never mind. So, busts his nose, drop kicks him on a table, and splits his cheek and lips and ear and all that.
Damn.
All in his face. And it also goes into a little interesting tidbit here where Derek actually found a fencing master at the time when he was much younger, going up through the Navy. And, well, actually, I think it was just before he went into the Navy. And he pretty much does anything and everything he has to do in order to apprentice under this man. So he, does all the little odd jobs and cleaning and maintenance and anything else that he has to do.
Right.
And in the process of all this, he'd already gotten pretty good under this guy, and the guy gets politically assassinated by a rival. And Derek actually goes out and kills everyone responsible for it.
Murdering rampage.
Well, yes and no. You could tell it was very, very smooth, very coming, very assassin-like on his own bit,
Okay.
So,